You know that feeling, right? It's one of the most frustrating things for any plant owner. You've been watering, you found what you thought was the perfect sunny spot, and then you see it. That one bright yellow leaf. It can feel like you failed somehow, but what is your plant actually trying to tell you?
Okay, so let's get right into it. The whole yellowing leaves thing is a super common problem, but here's the good news. It's usually a solvable mystery. Your plant is sending you a signal, and today we're going to learn how to read it.
So here's the most important thing to get your head around. Yellow leaves are just a symptom. They're not the disease itself. And according to horticulturalist Matt Kostelnick, that symptom is pretty much always caused by one thing: stress. So our job is to play detective, figure out what's causing that stress, and then, fix it. Let's start our investigation with the usual suspect, the most likely culprit behind plant stress. And that's water. It's a classic Goldilocks situation, you know? It can't be too much, and it can't be too little. It's gotta be just right. The first test for both over and underwatering is always the same, and it's super simple. Just feel the soil. Seriously, stick your finger in there. If it's bone dry, well, your plant is thirsty and probably needs water more often. But if that soil is soggy and wet, you're actually suffocating the roots. That's a huge sign to pull back and let things dry out a bit. So, what if you've ruled out water? Okay, the next step in our diagnosis is to look at your plant's surroundings. The stress could be coming from its immediate environment. Specifically, we're talking about the light it gets and the temperature it's feeling. You gotta remember, plants are basically solar powered. If they don't get enough light, they can't do photosynthesis properly, which is just how they feed themselves. So if a plant is struggling in the dark, its leaves might start to yellow as it runs out of energy. And a lot of the time, the fix is as simple as just moving it to a brighter spot in your house. Now here's a really subtle but super important clue. A lot of our houseplants are tropical, right? So they absolutely hate cold drafts from a leaky window or an AC vent. That kind of sudden cold can definitely cause yellow leaves. But pay close attention to the color. If the leaves are turning brown, that's a big red flag for prolonged cold exposure, which is way more serious than just a temporary draft. All right, let's move on to our next suspect, plant nutrition. Just like us, plants need a balanced diet. If they're not getting the right nutrients, or maybe they're getting too many, they're gonna show signs of stress. And for this one, the pattern of the yellowing is your biggest clue. Okay, this is one of the most powerful visual clues a plant can ever give you. Seriously, if you see this specific pattern, these really crisp green veins on an otherwise yellow leaf, your investigation is probably over. It's almost always a nutrient issue. The plant is literally showing you exactly what's wrong. So how do you fix a nutrient problem? Well, it could be that you're under-fertilizing, sure, but just as often people get a little too excited and over-fertilize. Using too much fertilizer actually creates a toxic environment for the roots and can burn the leaves, causing them to turn yellow. The key is to always follow the instructions and use fertilizer exactly at the labeled rate. More is not better here.
All right, so you've checked the water, you've checked the light, the temperature, and the food. If you are still seeing yellow leaves after all that, it's time to consider a few final and honestly less common possibilities. These are kind of the last items on our checklist. You'll want to look really closely for any pests or signs of disease like fungus. You might even need to consider if the soil itself is the problem. But keep this in mind. There's one final possibility that isn't a problem at all, and that's just natural aging. Sometimes an old leaf simply turns yellow to make way for new growth.
And that really is the ultimate question, isn't it? By running through this checklist, you can go from feeling frustrated and confused to feeling empowered. You can actually diagnose the stress and give your plant the care it's asking for. And hey, sometimes you might just realize that a single yellow leaf isn't a cry for help. It's just a sign of a plant living its natural life.